when preparing for this, one of the articles I came across showed when it comes to impact forces, training surface, even though we've been taught training surfaces has a big impact, really doesn't make that much of a difference. Now, the argument that I would say conversely to that is one, concrete doesn't give that much. So if you're going to run the road, because it will have a little bit of give. But the negative about running on the roads to me more is the camber of the road. And so you're going to offshoot some of your mechanics by running on the roads a lot, whereas you can control that a little bit more if you're on a turf field or a trail. Not to mention, I think if you're doing everything on trail or everything on turf or everything on road, there's going to become some overuse stress from that stimulus. It's the same thing if every day you were going out running hard 400s. There comes a point where there's something going to give because there's no variance of either joint angles or force absorption or anything like that. So I think if you have the option of getting on some trails or a grass field in addition to the roads, it's a nice balance just to keep everything a little bit varied. But I would also be careful if the road is a little bit cambered, because from a mechanical standpoint, that would throw stuff off. So.
Well, and two other things I'd go back to, because I will confess, after hearing Alberto Salazar say that they run in his group, and he suggests in general that athletes run plus or minus 90% of their volume on soft surfaces, I actually confess that I became probably a little bit too sensitive to that and probably, quote-unquote, overcorrected in the very short term as I thought about applying his, and almost applied it in just a blanket manner without really contemplating or assimilating that. I tend to agree more objectively with Dr. Hansen's perspective, but the two other points I would add, or I should say in addition to that, I would say, again, the battle to ensure adequate micronutrient status is just a never-ending battle. Unless there's sufficient calcium and protein being provided to the body and deposited to bone, I don't care what you run on, sharp knives, concrete, or soft surfaces, the odds are against you. So I would say that. The other issue, at least that I'm facing now, and I've certainly faced before, but perhaps to a greater extent now, is running footwear. Just that inability, and I shouldn't say inability, but that apparent unawareness and or inability of, for example, my girls right now to realize that, wait, at 350 miles or 2,800 minutes or whatever you think that number is or that range is, you are getting new running shoes. Because if you don't, you're actually saying, I would rather heighten or elevate my probability of injury. I'd like to try to do the best I can to get hurt soon. And so that's my line to parents now. Can we work together so we try to not optimize that probability? Are you willing to make that purchase? Because we have a deal with a sporting goods store now that gives us 2 for 1, so we can actually get a pair free every time we buy 2. All right? And so another thing is partnerships to hopefully provide a basis for the purchase of shoes that are cost efficient.